Hello everyone, I'm Glenn from the Wrestling Connection podcast, and I'm going to go through my Fastlane predictions, and I'm going to try and do this fast. So, I'm starting off from the top of the card. As of time of recording, we have 7 matches announced. First one, Riddle versus Mustafa Ali for the WWE United States Championship. I know when we're doing predictions, we're supposed to put in who we realistically think who will win, and I sadly don't think this will happen, but my prediction is going to be Mustafa Ali, simply because I do think he needs it, and I just can't stand Riddle, and I want to see that man off our screens not carrying a belt. Next up, we have Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins. Seth might be more likely to take this, but for this one, my prediction and the person I'm certainly rooting for is Shinsuke. It feels like these last few months he has been rising up again, building once again the momentum he once had after his initial run on the main roster. This is going to be an excellent match regardless. I hope it gets a good amount of time to really build and have almost feel like an NXT men's division main event. That's what I want from this match. So I'm saying Shinsuke Nakamura. Announced on the card is the Alexa Bliss Randy Orton intergender match. Now, I don't think this is really going to be a match as such. You know, nothing about the promotion for this has made me think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be more of an intergender cinematic style thing. And I don't think there'll necessarily be a clear winner or a pinfall. I don't expect Randy Orton to RKO Alexa Bliss on the pay-per-view. So I feel like if there's a winner to be decided or predicted here, I'm going to say it, Alexa Bliss, because I feel like this is the point at which we really start to see the return of the Fiend, and it feels like we're building up to Fiend and Orton at WrestleMania. So potentially, I would say if I have to decide who's going to come up on top with this one, I would say Alexa Bliss. Big E versus Apollo Crews for the IC Championship. Listen, Big E is fantastic. He's been on such a run, but I'm really intrigued by what they started to do with Apollo over the last month or so with this revitalized gimmick. And he has been on fire recently, and we all want to see Big E move towards the main event anyway, and he could be a realistic post-WrestleMania contender for the Universal Championship. So I'm going to go ahead and say Apollo Crews for this match. We've also got the Women's Tag Team Championship. Nia Jax and Sheena Basler taking on Sasha Banks and Bianca Bellaire. Some people might be keen to predict Sasha and Bianca for this because of, you know, they'll do the kind of Cena Shawn Michaels angle where they're tag team champions who are going to clash at WrestleMania. But I feel like if they don't win the tag team titles, then that could just be another reason to add fire to the Bianca-Sasha feud. Gives them something else to fall out over or disagree on. You could build tension between them. And Nia and Sheena have a good thing going, I think, with the women's tag titles. So I say let them keep the belts and defend that against a different team at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. These guys have had a great run of matches. I'm glad that they're finally getting to do something on pay-per-view. It's hard for me to believe that Drew won't come out on top of this because he's going into the WrestleMania to wrestle Bobby Lashley. So I would say definitely Drew McIntyre is my prediction. I can only really see Sheamus winning if there's interference by Bobby Lashley or even Mr. Brock Lesnar. But my prediction is our hometown boy, Drew McIntyre. Last but not least, I don't think I've missed anything else. We've got what is definitely the true main event for me, and that is Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship, with Edge as the special guest enforcer as established this week on SmackDown. This is going to be insane. If their first Fastlane match 6 years ago is anything to go by, you know this is going to be an absolute classic. Now, I believe it will be Roman who wins. Roman, I think, is the man. Roman and Edge is the WrestleMania match. And as much as people want to see Edge and D-Bry, and that will be a great match, I think realistically that could be a post-WrestleMania feud for Edge, whether or not he defeats Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And that's another argument to have in another prediction video down the line. But I feel like Edge and Roman at Mania, but have Roman and Bryan have an amazing match at Fastlane. I also wouldn't rule out the possibility of a triple threat match at WrestleMania, but I would say after an incredible match, Roman will come out on top once again at Fastlane. Lightning will strike twice. And so there we go. Those are my Fastlane predictions, but I am not the only one whose voice should be heard when it comes to Wrestling Connection pay-per-view predictions. I'm here with my tag team championship belt, and speaking of which, let's turn over to our tag team partner, Chris Moffat, CM42 TV, to hear his predictions. Over to you, Chris.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you, Glenn, for the lovely introduction. I am currently here in the car. We aren't able to travel very far. We've just come to the shops, and I said I'm going to stay in the car and I'm going to give my predictions for WWE Fastlane 2021 this Sunday. Can't believe we're on the road to WrestleMania already. It's been such a fun time this past month being a wrestling fan. And Fastlane sometimes is quite forgettable because, you know, it's right before WrestleMania or whatever, but it's always a good show. It's always like the last one before WrestleMania, or one of the last ones before WrestleMania, so it's always full of like surprises or maybe twists and big matches and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to this week's show. The first match that Glenn so beautifully spoke about was Riddle versus Mustafa Ali for the United States Championship. I am also not a fan of Matt Riddle. And I am loving what Ali's doing. You know, the whole retribution thing I thought was a bit daft at first. They totally blew the angle. But he's doing some really good stuff. He being Riddle, he being Ali. Let's not get that wrong. He being Ali. Matt Riddle is not doing anything that's appealing to me or most folk, it seems like. So yes, Mustafa Ali to be the new US champion, in my opinion. Ali is my pick for this one. Then we have Rollins versus Nakamura. What a match this is going to be. Potential for match of the night, which is going to be tough because we're up against matches like Roman and Daniel Bryan and that sort of thing. So, and Drew versus Sheamus. So, but yes, absolutely, Rollins and Nakamura could be the best match of the show. Really interested to see where they're going with the whole Seth Rollins, Nakamura, Cesaro story going into WrestleMania. I'm not really sure where they're going with that or what they're doing. It's almost like they're going for Rollins versus Cesaro, but Nakamura's there just as Cesaro's pal, which I don't really understand. But if we can get a triple threat at WrestleMania, I would be over the moon with that. But Seth Rollins will win this match. It's going to be a good one, as Glenn says. I hope we have some time with this one. And yes, Rollins will win. It's going to be a good one. And it will lead to, unless Cesaro comes out and costs Rollins the match, it will lead to that match at WrestleMania. But Cesaro in a big main event match at WrestleMania is a thumbs up from me. Next we have Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. I've always been kind of iffy with these sort of stories. The kind of like weird... I don't know what the word is, kind of not realistic, unrealistic storylines, movie-like storylines and stuff. I've always been a bit kind of like, they're not really my thing. Randy Orton been doing the best work of his career the last year, and I'm sure he will pull out a great match here. I love Alexa Bliss. She's great in the ring, she's a great promo, she's a great character, and has proven that she can do anything with this whole Bray Wyatt Fiend kind of thing. Sister Abigail almost like thing, Alexa's playground, you know, she's doing a great job. So I have no idea what's going to happen here. I doubt Alexa Bliss will pin Randy Orton here. But I'm not going to lie, I think it would be pretty funny if Randy Orton just completely goes in here, RKO's Alexa Bliss and gets the win. I don't think that'll happen. We will see Bray Wyatt pop up, but it'll be an interesting one for sure. In terms of the Women's Tag Team Championship match, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belaire versus Nia Jax and Shayna Basler. They always kind of do this around WrestleMania time when like there's a championship match happening. So Sasha and Bianca at WrestleMania, they'll put them in a tag title match. I do not think they will win the titles here, but it will be a sort of thing they'll end up fighting and they'll cost each other the match. It won't be a particularly great match or anything, but I'm sure Sasha and Bianca will further the rivalry, and I'm all for that. Then we have Apollo Crews versus Biggie for the Intercontinental Championship. Surprisingly, it's been a really good story. I thought they've built up the story really well. Biggie doing some great work. Not mad about Apollo Crews' Nigerian accent that he does not need. You know, he can still, have the heritage of being from Nigeria and his family heritage and stuff. It just doesn't need to put on the accent in promos. It's like when Kofi Kingston was doing the Jamaican accent. Like, why? But it'll be a good match. It's been a decent story. Biggie winning all the way. I don't know what they're going to do with the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Probably a multi-man ladder match or something. Again, I'm all for that. It's an easy booking decision, but always entertaining. Biggie will win this match. Big Drew versus Sheamus in a no disqualification match. Regardless of what happens, it's going to have no difference on Drew's WrestleMania match, I hope anyway, unless we see Brock Lesnar show up and do something in this match to cost Drew the match and Lesnar's inserted into the Lashley and McIntyre match. Lashley will get involved in this match regardless anyway, probably going to cost Drew the match against Sheamus. But then what does Sheamus do at WrestleMania? I don't know. This is the thing. Unless they put Sheamus in the triple threat match at WrestleMania, I don't know. Regardless though, I think that WrestleMania match with Lashley and Drew and whoever will be very hard hitting and really enjoyable. But this match, Drew and Sheamus have been doing some really good work against each other on Raw recently. They've been having some really good matches. Drew will win, I think. And then we have Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. My God, I could watch these two wrestle all day. And I said that since 2015 in that last Fastlane main event, which is ironic, which was so good. Reigns and Daniel Bryan is, you know, as good of a match as you're going to get. Reigns will win, obviously. Edge will probably get involved, or whatever, so will Jey Uso. It was cool to see Edge on SmackDown, by the way. You know, I could watch them wrestle every day of the week, twice on Sunday. Drew versus Edge would have been a dream match. You know, Edge versus Daniel Bryan's going to be a dream match, but the fact we're going with Reigns and Edge is a big deal. It's a worthy WrestleMania main event. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to checking out that match at WrestleMania, but in terms of that, we've got a big roadblock on the way to WrestleMania, and being Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. The match will be great. It could be match of the night up against those other great matches I talked about. It's going to be a joy to watch them wrestle. But of course, Roman Reigns will retain the title, and we will get Reigns versus Edge at WrestleMania, baby.